Alrighty, let's get into it, shall we? Okay, welcome to a long time ago. As it says here, I haven't got an intro this week. Crap. The number one Star Wars podcast. Ooh. Let's just leave it at
a long time ago.
Yeah, so this week it was the finale of Andor. I mean, we finally got one prediction right in the whole thing, and it pretty much all took place on Ferrix. So, that's something. Oh, I should probably introduce us as well. I'm Adam Long, and as always, joined by my cousin Martin Long.
Hey.
How's it going?
It's good. It's good.
We have sort of caught up before we started, so it's a little bit.
I think the problem was, Adam, is we actually started talking about the episode before we actually started recording.
Yeah, and it's never a good idea because we start. We talk too much, and let's see. Yeah,
what Adam really means is Martin talks too much.
Martin talks too much. I didn't want to say it, but yeah. But okay, then let's let the listeners know our thoughts on the episode. Obviously a great finale. What did you think?
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I mean, it kind of it was an episode of Andor, and it was a finale, wasn't it, of Andor?
Mm-hmm.
I have to say, I've not said this once the entire series, but I was slightly disappointed by the episode, and that's not a reflection on how good it was, really, because it was absolutely brilliant, and it, as I said earlier, it fits in exactly with what Andor has been so far, and it tells that story of him from the beginning of the series to now, where he obviously at the end he wants to officially join the rebellion. But there's been a problem this week because every morning before I go to work, I jump on the treadmill and I do some running, and every day I watch an episode of something before I get while I'm on the treadmill, because it's the only way I can concentrate. Yeah. And all week I've been rewatching The Mandalorian, and obviously The Mandalorian
is a terrible move.
It is a terrible move, especially when you're watching Andor, because between last week's episode and this week's episode, I've watched nearly the entire season 2 of The Mandalorian, and obviously it's a completely different show, and I get that, but I don't know why, but after watching The Mandalorian this morning and then watching Andor later on in the day, it came across as a little bit less actiony, a little less Star Warsy, and I that's the first time I'm saying that, because I've loved this show, and I have nothing but good things to say about this show. But I think when watching it against The Mandalorian, it became clear that yes, it is a different kind of Star Wars. And I've been debating with other friends, what's your favorite, The Mandalorian or Andor? And all through the last 11 episodes, I've been saying absolutely Andor. Oh, Andor's so much better than The Mandalorian. But after watching The Mandalorian this week, I think I'm leaning more towards The Mandalorian.
Yeah, that's interesting. I've said before that it's very different to your standard Star Wars stuff, haven't I? So
yeah.
You're not too far wrong there, I don't think. And I think I do prefer The Mandalorian. Can I put my finger on why? I think it is just because it feels more Star Warsy. Andor is a great show, but all the way through, I think I've preferred Mandalorian still. Don't know.
Yeah, no, I definitely, as I say, that anyone listening, that's not a reflection on the show, because
absolutely
anyone who's listened to this, you and I have both said this is, I mean, is the writing in Andor better than The Mandalorian? Absolutely, yes.
Probably, yeah.
Is the direction better in The Mandalorian than Andor? I would say no. I think the directing in Andor is better. And telling an intricate story, again, I think Andor is better, but maybe maybe
I feel like the Mandalorian is what everyone wanted from the Boba Fett series. It's like if tricky, but if they would have made that as Boba Fett to begin with, because the Mandalorian's taken over like the mantle of best bounty hunter out there in terms
yeah.
of, you know, because everyone loved Boba Fett from the original trilogy. Mandalorian's really just taken that mantle, as I say. And I think that's probably why we love it more, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've mentioned before, and obviously we're meant to be talking about Andor, but just quickly, I think we said before that basically they made the Mandalorian, but based him on Boba Fett, and then the problem was when they made Boba Fett, they couldn't make him the Boba Fett that we thought he was because
Yeah,
they'd already done it with the Mandalorian.
exactly.
So yeah, but going off on a massive tangent, just like we normally do, um, let's go back to Andor. I mean, the episode was absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
I just felt with the riot at the end and the Imperials clamping down on the funeral march because the bomb got thrown, etc. Oh, and
Mm.
obviously there was the transmission that Marva,
Marva, yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Well done.
um, did at the end, which I thought kind of kind of was pretty brilliant, and again written absolutely
It was the
fantastic.
speech to spark the
Yeah,
start of the riots, wasn't it?
that's right, it was.
It
And
was the all time rebellion speech, really.
mm,
I think.
yeah,
Um,
I mean, again, it was a fantastic sort of farewell for that actor because she's done
mm,
Fiona Shaw. 'Cause she's done an excellent job, and
mm,
I don't know why. I think because a lot of people who had seen the Andor finale, were, and this is the worst thing to do ever is go on social media, and they'd been sent screeners. Some of these people who review the show, and they were putting on social media, oh, if you thought if you thought Andor was
we
going to
shouldn't have
be
spoken about
gonna,
Mandalorian.
yeah, exactly. If you thought it was going to be a 9 or a 10 out of 10, you need to up it to a 15 out of 10. And of
Yeah.
course, that instantly made me think, oh, this is going to be brilliant. There's
Yeah.
going to be star destroyers pummeling the planet from orbit.
Yeah.
There's going to be
Not
there's
as
going to
much
be
damage done as we
no,
anticipated, really, or as you
no,
anticipated.
no. So it was actually quite low key, really. But then, if there's a summation of the show, it's been quite a low key show, hasn't it? It's been
Yeah.
about individuals and families and how they're dealing with the oppression of the empire and how they how they've been treated and how they're going to deal with it in the future and this finale was basically just about that, and
Mm.
we should never have expected more. And my predictions of all these big battles with stormtroopers
Yeah.
and scout walkers walking
Wasn't
around and
quite.
destroying the town, it was never going to happen, and that's my fault. That's not the show's fault.
Yeah, it's an interesting one because I think I don't know if it was you that told me. Somebody said this finale, your expectations, if you've got high expectations, triple them. I
Hmm.
think I heard that somewhere. I don't know if it was you that said it, but I mean, that's only going to set you up for a little bit of a disappointment in a way, isn't it? I think.
Yeah, and that definitely did for me because obviously, as I say, with the whole Mandalorian problem of watching it this week, and then those expectations,
Mm,
you kind of watch a show like the Mandalorian with all the action, Star Wars set pieces they have in that show, and then you go and watch Andor, and you're in your mind. I mean, as you say, if you're rational, and you've been watching the show carefully as we have, you should know that that's not going to happen because that's not how they've been portraying the show.
mm.
But unfortunately, these things got in my head, and I was expecting all this stuff, and it never happened.
It
And
didn't really. No.
no, so it's my own fault. And please don't think that I didn't enjoy it because I did. I absolutely thought it was
Oh,
fantastic.
it
And
was a great episode, but it wasn't it wasn't quite up there with the Prison Break episode. I feel
no,
like that was definitely the best one of the series.
I agree. That's definitely my favorite episode as well.
Mm.
Absolutely.
But then there were actually more episodes in this series than there have been in Mandalorian, right? There was eight
Yeah, I
for
think
Mandalorian, I
eight
think.
in Mandalorian and 12
And
in
it
this. Yeah.
and it feels like there's been a lot more going on. There's been a
Mm,
lot more storylines, and you can almost, I don't know, I feel like you can almost forget some of the things that happened early on, like the Eye of the Storm episode on Aldani. You
mm,
know, visually it was amazing, and the episode itself was really good. but it sort of feels so long ago now that it's difficult to actually remember it properly.
Yeah, and I suppose there's an argument to be made as well that did that whole Aldani heist 3 episode arc to get Andor where he ended up at the end of this episode didn't really need to happen,
Hmm.
to be honest, did it? He could have, just got off planet and then gone to prison for something he didn't do, and then
Yeah.
still ended up in this situation.
Hmm.
So there is an argument to be made there a little bit that perhaps they didn't need to do that. But it was still great. Don't get me wrong. I mean, those episodes were fantastic, and the heist episode we were both saying at the time it was so tense to watch, wasn't it?
Hmm.
It was
Yeah.
it was
All the way
nerve
through, really.
jangling.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. But
I mean,
yes,
there's
we haven't really spoken about. Were you going to say something else? Sorry.
no. You go ahead. I was just going to sort of do a few highlights of the episode, the finale, just to
Okay,
sort of.
that's great. That's pretty much where I was going with it as
Oh, okay,
well.
cool,
Yeah.
cool.
So it was called Rick's Road, which is where we saw. Well, we didn't really see it, but where Clem was hanged.
That's right.
So it had that relevance to it, and we did hear a
Yeah.
bit of Clem.
Yeah,
Uh,
it was really interesting, wasn't it? How they take the dead and they turn them into those bricks, and then they use those bricks to build the town in Ferrix.
mm,
And I thought that I didn't notice it first, but when Andor puts his hand on that wall, he's actually touching Clem's brick that was
oh
made,
right.
and that's when the flashback happened about making old things new again.
Mm,
So I thought that was really cool scene. And
yeah.
that's about this show. That's kind of been the difference between other shows and this show is it gives you all those little moments, doesn't it?
Mm.
And sort of gives you a bit more depth, meat on the bone, as we like to say.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, it was really though. We going back to another thing we like to say about being the getting the chess pieces in position. It was a bit of a stalemate at the end, wasn't it? Because if anyone's listened to our previous short that we did on YouTube, we did our dead or alive predictions, and I don't think we got any of them right. Well,
No,
apart from maybe the ones that stayed alive, but
yeah, but
in we expected a lot more people to die, I think.
yeah, not as far as I can. Not a single character that we discussed in that short actually died.
No,
None of them.
no.
Which is quite a big surprise because you thought, well, this has got so many characters in it that they might
Mm,
use this opportunity to sort of get rid of a few because in the next season there's going to be even more introduced. So
yeah.
interesting. Yeah.
Well, you know that they're not going to make it through series two.
No, I
If
mean, Dead
that's the
Alive is going to be quite
if
interesting for season two, isn't it?
if that's the one that sort of takes us up to the beginning of Rogue One, if you like,
Hmm.
yeah, we know that not many people are going to make it through that one.
No.
So,
Um, yeah, a couple of things I just wanted to highlight quickly was I was quite disappointed with Cyril and Mira's storyline in the finale. It was kind of not really, they didn't really do too much, and Cyril
mm,
especially didn't really do too much other than save Mira.
mm,
There was quite a heart stopping moment when I thought Mira was going to get killed actually, and they'd all grabbed her, didn't they? And they sort of were pummeling her,
yeah.
but he pulled her out. I was really worried because I have to say, and I'm going to get a lot of haters here, but Mira's been my favorite character through the entire show.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah, and I thought, oh no, she's going to die, but yeah, Cyril pulls her out, and I wonder in the future where that's going to go because she's obviously going to be in, quite a bit of trouble because she's failed, hasn't she? She's failed in
Mm,
her mission to bring Andor in and bring
yeah.
order to Ferrix. So season two.
I was concerned with that scene that they might make it a bit of a like love interest type thing. I
Yeah,
thought we probably don't need to see that, but
no, yeah, I agree. I think that's possibly something for the second season. I think her reaction to him saving her
mm,
kind of said, well, in season two, perhaps we're going to get these two together and they're going to work together to hunt down the rebellion or something. I don't know, but
mm,
yeah, but yeah, no, I was slightly disappointed with they didn't really use them too much. But again, as we said earlier,
yeah.
there's so many characters you can't give everybody.
A lot of them did sort of take a back seat during that the funeral, if you like, because you had Luthen in there as well, who
Mm.
was cottoning on, was he? To like, was he sort of keeping an eye on Cyril? At
Well,
that
he was
point, I was trying to figure
no,
that out.
he didn't know Cyril was there until he sort of brushed past him, did he? But I think
Hmm.
Luthen was mostly there to actually make sure Andor got taken out because he wanted him
Yeah.
killed because he knew who he were knew he who he was. Sorry.
Hmm.
So, but you're right. He didn't really do anything. He kind of turned up, watched, looked
Yeah.
really shocked, surprised, and then
Almost got
actually
blown up.
almost got blown up. But at the end, quite happy that all of this had happened. And he because he said in previous episode he wanted the Empire to clamp down and do
Yeah.
these horrible things so that it did encourage the populace to uprise. So that was good.
Well,
And
I did think whilst he was watching the massive hologram of Marva. So one thing I'll say, B2, pretty impressive. You don't very often see the droids with holograms that size.
no.
Well, he's got a big one. Um, he's yeah. So whilst that whole speech of Marva's was going on, it seemed like Luthen was kind of realizing that Andor could be of quite a bit of use to them. I think. Do you
Yeah,
think?
no, I agree. I agree. Although I do think until Andor confronted him on his ship, I do think that he still would have killed Andor because he couldn't take the
Okay,
risk that he discovered him. But the look of confusion when he Andor said "kill me,"
kill me
he
then.
can.
Yeah.
Yeah, for the first time, Luthen wasn't sure what game he was playing, did he? So
Hmm.
that was interesting, and
Yeah.
he seemed. But then when he said "train me," in paraphrasing, to become a member of the rebellion or an agent of the rebellion, he had a little wry smile, didn't he? Like, this is perfect, this is what we need, someone like Andor, because he's just proven he's managed to just take this town down basically.
Hmm.
So that was great. I really enjoyed that part at the end.
Was there anything in the series that you expected to see and are disappointed that you didn't see it? Or
um I think possibly we said at the beginning we might have seen a couple more cameos than we did, and
Hmm.
I don't mean Vader and Palpatine.
No, but
Or
more people that we've seen throughout Rogue One.
yeah, yeah, I
Yeah.
think possibly Krennic we said, but I mean, there's a
Yeah.
chance he shows up in the second season.
I'm sure they're
Um,
going to bring some of these people in series
mm,
two.
yeah,
Alan Tudyk wasn't lying.
no, he wasn't. No,
Yeah, he didn't make an appearance. So
no. There was a point where I thought B2 was going to be destroyed and they'd take his memory core out or something, and
that's
and he'd be put
exactly what
in.
I was thinking.
I was wondering if he was going to go inside of K2 because B2 K2.
Yeah. Do you know what? I
So
was thinking the exact same thing. I wonder if that's how B2 finds his demise
mm,
and how K2's born. Yeah.
yeah, that would have been quite cool. I wouldn't have minded that,
I'll have
but
to
well, it's still time.
fix the stutter on him, but
Yes.
yeah.
Um, Uh, I'm trying to think.
That's a series two prediction then, I think, right there,
Definitely,
early
definitely.
on. But yeah.
But yeah, and the whole Vel and Varma, no, help me
Cinta.
out. Sinter, thank you. Oh my word, that kind of went nowhere, did it? That was
No,
nothing,
yeah, that
nothing
was
there.
yeah. It
Of
did kind of the whole episode almost. Well, not the whole episode, but there were quite a few storylines in the episode that kind of ended with nothing, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think the only thing we got from Vel really was the fact that she's not quite as involved or wants to be involved in the rebellion as perhaps me. Help me out. What's the name?
Sorry, Cinta.
Binta, thank you.
Yeah.
Because she was in it, wasn't she? She was right. I'm doing everything I can. I'm not concentrating on
Mm,
anything other than this mission. Whereas Vel looked quite taken aback that she'd rather be doing that than spending
yeah.
time with her. So I think there could be something going on there in the future, and another season two prediction
Hmm,
for you.
yeah.
And there was one other thing that I thought was probably actually I might possibly my favorite part of the whole episode is the scene with Mon Mothma in the back of the her
Yeah.
limousine shuttle, where she knew that the pilot was not going to not listen to
Mm,
what she was saying. So she intimated that her husband had been gambling again,
mm,
which would then get back to the ISB, which would then indicate that that's where the missing money had gone.
yeah.
and they tried to hide it, which I thought was absolutely
Quite clever.
brilliant.
Yeah,
It was really good.
yeah.
So yeah, that was probably my favorite scene in the whole episode. I hate to say.
I thought it might be when the ISB agents are talking about something being a direct order from Emperor Palpatine. I thought just the mention of that might be your favorite scene.
No, no, no. He has got to turn up. We've got to speak. We've got to see him at some point.
Well, series two, he's going to be there surely.
I don't think so. I don't think they're bringing him in for this show. He's too big for it. It's quite it's quite apparent that this is on the
The
ground.
Yeah, the lower depths. I think, as we've
Absolutely.
said before. Yeah,
And
yeah.
at this time, as we've said before, Palpatine, he doesn't care about the running of the empire or this politics or
Mm,
what he sees in his mind as little things going on. He's at this point in the timeline, he's investigating how to become immortal,
mm.
mixing the dark arts, if you like, Harry Potter reference.
Haven't seen it.
No, it doesn't surprise me. So yeah, I don't think we'll see Palpatine. I don't think we'll see Vader, but I know we're going back to Yavin in season two. That's definitely
We have to.
confirmed.
Yeah, yeah.
I think Tony Gilroy said, they're definitely going back there. And I think from this finale, there's 5 years up to Rogue One, and there's going to be four 3 episode arcs, and each 3 episode arc is going to be 1 year leading up to Rogue One.
Okay.
So I
Be
think we're gonna
interesting.
move quite quickly next season. It's not going to be like this season where things
The
have been,
laboured setting everything for
yeah,
the end of the arcs.
that's right, that's
Yeah.
right. So we only have to wait till 2024 for the
Or
next season. Oh, that's going to be a nightmare.
it's too far away, man.
It is.
Too far away.
Um,
One thing in the whole like town battle skirmish, whatever you want to call it, I really enjoyed Brasso's war cry. So Brasso, if you don't remember, because you're not so great with names here, he was the guy that walked out in front holding
that's right.
the
Tablet.
brick. Yeah,
Yep.
the brick, right? That was the
Yes. Yeah.
brick.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, his war cry in when he started beating the old stormtroopers. It got me
Yeah.
revved up for that bit. I
Yeah.
really enjoyed that.
Oh no, that
Yeah.
was absolutely. Don't get me wrong. I mean, it sounds like I'm being negative, but I promise I'm not. I
No,
loved
no,
it, and I was getting that whole march. You again, how many times have we said it in how many
building the
episodes?
tension.
Tense, yeah,
Mm,
building the tension, and when it finally all kicks off, it was like a proper street level riot, wasn't it?
mm,
Not it wasn't over the top. It was actually realistic, I suppose you could say.
yeah,
So, yeah, I thought it was fantastic, and I thought. They could have done it two ways. They could have the Empire completely started wiping everybody out, or the rioters completely wiped out the Empire. But no, they kept it down the middle, so
yeah, yeah. Not
it
many
was more
people died. A
realistic.
lot of well,
Mm,
the one guy that died was the guy that got thrown off the bell tower.
yes,
Ooh,
yeah,
nasty way to go.
yeah. I read that bell tower with the tablet he hits with the hammers is made of Beskar. I read that somewhere,
All right.
and that's one hell of a lot of Beskar, isn't it?
Mm,
The Mandalorians need to be
yeah,
coming down to Ferrix because
yeah.
not blaming the Empire for stealing the Beskar. It's definitely the Ferrix white
Blimey, yeah.
inhabitants.
That is a lot. Yeah, the anvil thing. Yeah, that's
But I think the last thing we have to talk about, unless you have anything else, is obviously the end credit scene.
well. Before we get to that, then
Oh, okay.
I mean, I just sort of to put the whole series into some sort of context, I
Mm.
suppose, and an overall sort of review. All in all quite an adventure. We got to see so many planets and so many characters, and yeah, it was slow in places, but it never felt boring.
No,
And I mean, yeah, really, really enjoyable series, and we'll have to figure out where it ranks in our top 50, well, in our canon.
yeah,
Um,
yeah, it's top 16, isn't it? We
Top
did.
16 at the moment. Yeah.
So
So,
yes, you're right. That'd be really interesting where we'll fit it in because having lived with Obi-Wan for a while now,
mm,
I'm not so sure I would place it as high as I did in that ranking.
Yeah,
So
I was thinking the same.
so yeah, we might have to revisit that perhaps next year after we've had Ahsoka and Bad Batch season 2. Perhaps
Yeah,
that'd be
we'll have to fit them all in.
yeah.
It might change things up. I think I need to go back and watch Bad Batch series one again,
Mm,
but that's for another podcast.
yeah,
Um, all in all, though, yeah, loads of different storylines with loads of different characters, and it all came down to the end
yeah,
where it kind of didn't sort of do too much. I don't know. It was great.
yeah. It was riveting, but it didn't do. It didn't. Yeah, I can't really. I
It's
can't articulate
difficult,
it.
isn't it? It's
Yeah, it
difficult
is
to
really
sort of
difficult.
say
Um,
where it sort of
all I
ends. I
can
don't know.
say is I can't wait for season 2. So
Mm,
if there's ever a a good
2 years.
review, I think you can't really give a better review than I can't wait for season 2. To be
Yeah,
honest, no.
yeah. No, that's it's yeah. It's going to be worth the wait. If this is anything to go by, it's got to be, and it's the same writing staff and everything. So hopefully,
Yeah,
hopefully, be good.
I'm sure it's going to be fantastic. I think next season, will probably get a bigger budget as well because it's
Mm,
probably been so. Although you do read it hasn't been particularly watched a lot, but I think that will change by the time it comes out.
yeah, once word gets around about like
I
how
think this
good
will probably
it's
win
been.
some awards, this show, because critically it has been acclaimed from what
Mm,
I've read,
mm,
and not just normal sci-fi type reviewers. I'm talking people that usually watch big budget HBO TV shows. They've
yeah.
been saying, wow, this is absolutely a new level of Star Wars and a
Mm,
new level of TV show. There's one podcast I listened to that reviews TV shows, and they said that they probably rank this in their top 5 for the whole of this year, which
mm.
is quite a big accolade if you
High
think
praise,
about.
yeah, really high
Yeah.
praise.
So yeah.
Yeah. Well, you want to get to the end credits. They've gone down the Marvel route. Hopefully, everyone stayed till the end of the credits or just
Yeah.
skipped through them like I did. Thankfully, Martin told me that there was something going on at the end. But yeah,
There was a rumor I heard 2 days ago. Someone had let slip that there was an end credit scene, and
mm,
it was very short and sweet, and it did answer the question that we've been asking since
those
the prison
parts,
episodes.
yeah,
Those
seem
parts were for the Death Star.
yeah, yeah,
Um,
gone towards building the Death
mm,
Star. Yeah,
but it was great because we got several shots, didn't we, sort of panning out from the Death Star, and
mm,
the parts were building the super laser. And I thought it was quite interesting because this is what 4 or 5 years out from Rogue One, and the super laser's only just literally being fitted in
yeah,
Rogue One. So all of those delays that you hear about in Rogue One from Tarkin and director Krennic about the delays there's been to the Death Star,
mm,
that's something perhaps that they'll explore in season
yeah,
2.
possibly.
And also the fact that there was the prison break meant
Mm.
that the supply of parts
Slowed
that
it
they
down.
needed slowed it down. And I think it's kind of ironic as well that the weapon that Andor actually ended up building, in a way, making parts for, is the weapon that actually ends up killing him
Yeah,
in the end. So you could argue that his whole storyline is intertwined with the storyline of the Death
mm,
Star, because even after he dies, thanks to what he did, enables the rebels to actually destroy the Death Star. So
yeah.
yeah, really
All
interesting.
comes full circle
It does.
in the
Yeah.
end. Yeah, yeah. It's good. It was a
Yeah.
good episode and a good,
Very
well,
good.
good series all round. So
Yep.
yeah,
So yeah.
yeah. That will do for this week's episode. I think we've spoken enough. Martin's spoken enough. Um, if you would like to hit the like button and hopefully subscribe to the channel, that would be great. Rate and review us if you're listening, and we will catch you in the next one. Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.